to share their skills and experience with others who would like to thrive in business. So you. Today we will be looking at systems that last. It is a continuation of our last webinar, taking the hustle out of your side hustle, which was an introduction to building systems in your business. A little about Thou Shalt Prosper. It is a growth space for individuals that would like to grow in the area of personal finance and business. Our mission is to learn, grow, and share. And our values are excellency, integrity, and transparency. So thank you for honoring our invitation. And we trust that this webinar shall be beneficial to you and your business. So my name is Juliana Okodoa, and I'll be moderating today's session. I am a chartered quality professional that is a member of the Chartered Quality Institute, and I'm an electronics engineer, a chartered black belt Lean Six Sigma professional. I help organizations meet their needs of customers and stakeholders more effectively by building systems. And I'm proud to have worked on several projects as the main design engineer for companies such as Williams Formula One, Shell, the London Rail Network, quite a number of projects. So I currently work with an organization called Draeger. I am a senior quality electronics engineer. Draeger is a leading global manufacturer of health and safety equipment. So that's what I do. And in my spare time, I work as a mental health first aider. Talking about building systems that last is Alfred Brian Agava. So we have Mr. Agava joining us this morning. So Mr. Agava is a fellow of the Chartered Accountants, a member of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants in Uganda. He is a holder of a Bachelor's of Commerce degree from Makerere University and is a certified entrepreneur, trainer, and consultant with the Regent University International Network Business Coaches, and he's a certified facilitator and presenter with KPMG. And he is also a certified financial trainer. Mr. Agava is currently the managing director of Acclaim Africa Limited, and he has led the team to deliver engagements in 30 countries in Africa, Europe, North America, South America, and he's got over 20 years of professional career. He has worked with KPMG, East Africa, Coca-Cola, Smart Consult Uganda Limited, and Acclaim Africa Limited, serving in various positions, including his current role as a managing director. He's worked as a country planning manager. He's been head of department. He's worked as an external auditor, an internal auditor, and a senior consultant. So Alfred chairs the board of an environmental consulting firm and an international school, a microfinance institution, a media agency, a sound engineering firm, a charity, and he's also a trustee of an international board of civil society organization. He plays the guitar, so that's one of his hobbies, and he is enchanted by nature. He appreciates poetry, so he's passionate about football, and is a very competitive chess player. So his life is all about living, loving, laughing, learning, and leading. So join me this morning as we welcome Mr. Alfred Agava to lead us in this session. So Mr. Agava, you're welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much, Juliana, for that introduction. Talking about business systems, an area I'm really, really passionate about, an area I really, really enjoy. I'm hoping that I can be heard clearly. Am I clear enough?
Yes, certainly you are loud and clear.
All right, great. In the event that drops a bit, please let me know. And in the event that there is any problem with my internet connection as well, let me know so I can switch. Right. Thank you. Thank you, thou shalt prosper, for inviting me to make this presentation. Thank you to everyone who's made it here. I think it's good morning to some. I think it's good afternoon to others. Good evening. I'm not sure who you're all watching from, but it's great to have you here and for us to talk about building business systems that last. Right. Well, just before I start, as when I was asked to speak about this, incidentally, it aligns with the book that I'm finalizing, that I'm working on, which is about starting, systemizing, and scaling. So it was really good that the call was aligned to that, and I kept thinking as I was writing. I just kept thinking about business people that need to take the journey from starting. You've gone through the processes of starting, and then people tell you, put systems in place. Come on, build systems. It can't be about you. Just put systems in place. And people ask, but where are they? Where do I
Yeah.
find these systems?
Yeah.
Uh, are they somewhere? Let me just get. And then some people hear, oh, there's a system here. Buy it. So I want to buy this system so it can solve all my problems. I was told to put systems in place, and they think of maybe paying for a certain system, and then they buy the system and they put it in place and they say, I want to go to the beach and have this system work. And they go to the beach and the system is not working. So that's the background, really, of why I want to go through this. Initially, it will be very foundational. Pardon me if I talk about very, very basic things, but I'll make it very, very foundational just to get through systems thinking. And then we'll have enough time for us to ask questions, interact, so we can be able to learn from one another. Building systems that last. Right, as we know, this is part of Thou Shalt Prosper Business One-on-One series, and that's what we're addressing this morning. Of course, I can't start without talking a little bit about Acclaim Africa Limited, where I work, and then we'll talk about start, systemize, and scale, demystify systems a bit, then business systems and processes. Some of the things we'll talk about maybe you also mentioned last time you met, but I want to make sure that we have a recap around them so that we are in the same space for those who were not there last time round. First, let's talk about where I come from, the people that have sent me to come here to do this. Great. So very briefly, I lead at Acclaim Africa Limited, which is a leadership and management consulting firm whose really main aim is just to see thriving organizations. Those two words, just thriving organizations. And the work we do is through providing consulting services, is providing trainings, and is providing outsourcing, where entities just say, just do this stuff for us, and we take it up and run with it. And in our leadership space, we have a capability of organizational effectiveness. So all things strategy, all things governance, all things risk under leadership. And then under management, we have the resource-based capabilities, if you like, human resource, all things people, finance, procurement and logistics, etc. And so we do our consulting in these areas, we do our training in these areas, and we do our outsourced work as well in these areas. Those are the customer segments we've been serving, SMEs that I'm very, very passionate about, NGOs, university and research institutes, donors, and a number of governments that we've served as well. And the sectors are varied, but livelihoods, health, education, climate and energy, tourism, and financial services. So those are the spaces that we're in. In the event that you have a need in those areas, please feel free to shout out, and we'll be here to help. And that's what we've been. We've served over the past 27 years, thousands of organizations 30 countries, 5 continents. But as you can see, our heart is for Africa. That's why we acclaim Africa, not
Yeah.
acclaim global. Sub-Saharan Africa really is where our heart is. We look at African challenges solved by Africans. Right, so I'll go right to why we're here, away from Claim Africa, and talk about start, systemize, and scaling of a business. Right, so like I was saying, as we start our businesses, we go through that journey where everything rotates, around you, the entrepreneur. You are the production manager, so you're producing everything. You're the marketing manager. You're the one who is going all out to look for clients. You're the finance manager. You're doing the accounts, if any. You everything, and everything rotates around you. No one maybe wants to even finance your business. No one knows your product. A few friends and family you're reaching out to try and buy some of the things you've come up with, and they're supporting, really, please support me. And so that's a stage that you go through as you're starting. What keeps you awake is a bit different from maybe other stages at this point. Now you navigate, from there, and you go to a point of systemize, where now it's not just about you. You need to build a couple of things and put some things in place. You have a couple of people coming in, documented a couple of systems, bought a number of maybe software or hardware that you're using. And it's no longer right about you, but you're able to run something. And then challenges are different at this stage. You maybe get into a space where people like your product. Now the demand is greater than the supply. You can't meet all the needs. You're sleeping at midnight and waking up at 4 because you have to meet all these needs out there. You're trying to bring people in place. You want to bring an accountant in place, but they're very expensive. You want to hire a couple of people. You're wondering, how do you manage people? How do you get the right people in place? Maybe you've moved away from the side hustle, and it's now becoming the main thing. You're thinking, should I be leaving my job? Should I be running this full time? Will it pay me fully? And things like that. The challenge is a bit different at the point of putting systems in place. You navigate that, you succeed, and then if you're going to have dominion, you're going to have to scale and have this in many different spaces. Um, I'll give an example of a claim. If we've done our work very well here in Uganda, then we need to be scaling, and we are doing that in trying to do work in different spaces. So how do you build systems now that are going to get into different spaces, so different economies, different countries? The challenges again become very different. The legal frameworks are different. The working cultures are different, etc., etc. So depending on where you are at, the challenges keep differing, and different kinds of maybe systems or different scales of systems that you require to put in place. But for today, we are going to focus on that systemized area. We're assuming you're leaving the start and you're coming towards systemize. How do you put systems in place? So let's first demystify this system thing, and allow me to just use a definition. Many of you like to get through by definitions. What is a system? What is a system? So a system is a group or a set or a collection of things, of components, of elements, of parts, whatever it is you're going to call them. But the interconnecting, and that's a key word there, the interconnecting, okay? They have an interconnecting network, and they're established for a common goal, a common purpose, a common objective. A group of things, a group of elements of an interconnecting network that you're putting in place to achieve an overall objective. Different definitions out there, but I like this as a working definition for us that we can use in this presentation. Now, if we come and just borrow from something that you all have, the human body, I wanted to start where we all are comfortable. You have a respiratory system. You have it has the nose, it has the lungs, it has the trachea, it has all those parts. Respiratory system for your breathing, you're diaphragm, etc., etc. And it works very well. They're interconnected. They're working together. You know, you have your reproductive system. I won't name the parts at this point. You have your circulatory system that allows blood to go through your body. So the blood is part of it, the heart is part of it, the veins are part of it, the arteries are part of it, and they have a common goal. They have a common purpose of taking this blood across the body, take oxygen across the body, take the food you've eaten, across the body. You have the digestive system. You have the nervous system. You see, your body is a system of systems put together, various different systems operating in your body. And maybe just to appreciate again that these systems work together. Yes, we said the circulatory system will take blood around your body, yes, but it needs to go to the lungs to pick oxygen. So it will interface with the respiratory system. It will interface with the digestive system to get the food that you've eaten to bring it to the rest of the body. So even these systems are interfacing, they're speaking to each other so that the body can be able to operate very well. Back to our biology class, for those of you who ran away. Those who ran from biology.
Very interesting.
I'm not a doctor, I'm an accountant by profession, but I appreciate the body because I thought, hey, we have bodies and we can refer them. Let's use that and just juxtapose that to maybe a business. In the same way, a business also has systems. And there are two types of systems that should be on. There are two types of systems that should be in the organization. There are those which are core, which are about why you are in business, and then there are those that are support systems. Now, all your core systems have to do with customer service delivery. Every business exists to deliver a certain service or a certain product to a customer. The reason your business is in place, those are your core systems. And then you have your support systems. I won't list all of them. Your financial management. Your business does not exist for financial management. It does not exist for human resource. It does not exist for procurement, logistics, admin, etc. No, those are support systems. They are put in place to make sure you support the overall core, which is your customer service delivery. But of course, they need to be there to support, to hold the structure. And if they're not, the structure is going to collapse. So they need to be in place. Right. So if we go down into those very systems, let's just dig into some of those, the core and the support. Again, I've not listed all of them, but I just want to break this further. When you get into these core and support systems, what do we have in there? Right? Now, we've talked about the customer service delivery system. And in there, you see that it has some processes in it. Now I'm moving from system to processes, things within the system. What is happening within the system? You have processes in there. You have all the irrespective of the business type that you have all those processes that bring in the business. Those are the demand creation processes. All the things you do to fulfill, to produce the service or produce the product, those are your demand fulfillment processes. It doesn't matter whether it's a bakery or it's food. It is training or whatever it is. There is demand creation, there is demand fulfillment, and then there is customer feedback processing, which goes back into your demand fulfillment as well. Those are core processes. And then your support processes, as an example, again, just to break this down, within financial management, you will have budgeting processes, you'll have accounting processes, you will have financial reporting processes, etc., etc. Human resource, you will have staff entry, staff stay, and staff exit processes. Now, of course, under these, you'll find that there are also some sub processes. Within the human resource system, there are employee entry processes, Within employee entry, there is what will happen when you are recruiting people, when you are onboarding them, when you are inducting them. Those are sub-processes within the employee entry processes. What happens during your stay, the leave management, the welfare, etc., etc. So I just want to point that when you come from the system of systems, which is the business, then you come and look at the core and the support systems, and then down to the processes that you need to put in place to be able to run these systems. Right, I'm moving a bit fast, but I know that I want to give more time for us to be able to ask questions. Let's talk about processes again. A process, I'm looking at it as just a series of steps, actions, tasks that we take to achieve a desired end. What are those 1, 2, 3 next to each other that we carry out to be able to achieve our overall objective? I'm making this as basic as possible because I want us to think these things when we think building systems.
Mr. Agaba, I think just to hold you on that point before we move any further, just a quick question: where do the production and operation processes lie among the various systems? Because obviously we've looked at the different sections.
Okay, where do the production? Now production is fulfilling. It is the demand, is within the demand fulfillment processes.
Yeah.
Because if you're a bakery, what you do is to produce bread, to produce pastries, or whatever it is. All the things that you're doing in there, the production system, all the things you're doing to produce the bread, those are inside your demand fulfillment processes. So all those are in there. The things that are supporting are all in the core or in the support processes. But the core is the doing, the thing that we are here to do. If you're a trainer, a business that does consulting and training, the core of carrying out, developing and carrying out the trainings, that is where your demand fulfillment is. I didn't want to call it just production here because if you're a trainer, it won't be production. You think about it as something different.
Yeah. Excellent. Right. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. So coming down to the processes, again, I wanted to break those down, and that's why I'm going to spend a bit of time as well. A series of steps, series of actions, series of activities we're carrying out to achieve a particular end. We've talked about budgeting processes, recruitment processes, etc. Now I want to dig down to what that process actually is and what are the components of that. But let's begin with a simple example that many of you go through. Okay, everyone goes through a waking up process, step by step. The alarm goes in the morning, 5 a.m. for some, 6 a.m. for others, 8 a.m. for others, depending on your waking up times. And what do? Next step, switch it off. Oh, I'm still sleeping 10 more minutes. It's back. And then, okay, wake up, yawn, and get out of bed, go brush your teeth, take a shower, etc., and you're out. That's a process.
It is.
You might think of processes as some very complex, complicated things out there, but this is a process. Waking up process to go into work, etc. In there, you will see there are certain steps, there are certain activities happening, all to a particular end, which was to go to work. And I'll use another simpler example that is aligned to maybe business using this specific tool, for example. Let's use an example of, I want to use an example of, you want to order for a meal from maybe Cafe Javas, for example. And you want to see what processes do we go through? What processes has maybe Cafe Javas put in place to make this demand fulfillment process, demand creation and demand fulfillment process go through? I've used a tool here that you call swim lane. It looks like these people are going to swim, think of a big swimming pool, Olympic size. You have your customer, you have your, all these are people. You have a customer, you have the salespeople, you have your chef, you have your rider. So all these are people who are going to swim in here. It's one tool you can use when you're developing your processes, right? Okay, let's start. You have an app. So customer will go in there, will select, they want a big breakfast, and they will make their payment. All that is being done by the customer because you have put that process, those steps of the process in a particular app, and you have an app there. So sometimes, for those who don't have apps, they will pick a phone, they will call, hello, do you have breakfast? Yes. What do you have? We have this menu. It can be a long process, but what Cafe Javas has done, they've put that all in the app, including payment. And this is now about automating some of the processes we might have. Right, what happens next? You've paid, it's gone through. The salesperson, now the other side, maybe will receive and review the order that you have sent. It has gone to their system, to their computer, to some software somewhere. They've received it, it has gone through, they've received that. What are they going to do? Two things. One, they will confirm the order to the customer. Again, there are those who will call, hello, your order has come through, or will send a message. Or it's within the system as well to send back, and to just activate and will send back a notification as a message that the order has been received. And while doing that, pass on to the chef to process the order of what you've asked for. These are steps. There are people. There are some tools that are involved in this process. And then while that's happening, she's processing, or he is processing receipt for the customer, but the chef has also processed and also is passing on the food to the rider. So the receipt is going to be passed on to the rider. The food is going to be passed on to the rider. Of course, I've missed a couple of things in there which I don't want to get into, but you'd understand to make this easy. And then your rider will deliver to the customer. They need a motorcycle. They'll deliver both the customer. And finally, you have your happy customer that has received their meal and they're enjoying. Now, this is a simple tool that you can use to document any process.
Yeah.
Right? You can use this. Again, I've been talking about bakery. You can use this, talk about your bakery business. You can use it, talk about your business in the salon. You can use this for any kind of business processes. If it's procurement, this is what we do. This person does this, to that, to that, to that. But when you look here, you see there's a person at some point. There are people. There are certain steps being taken. In some cases, there is a document. In some cases, there is an app, there's a software. In some cases, there's some hardware you need to invest in. So all these things come through here, and as you develop these processes, you begin to visualize some of them. Or if you're already doing them, then you know that you do the things and you're simply documenting these things. So like we've said, there's a person, there's a document, there's a task, there's a software, there's a hardware. These things you will find in all the different processes you're developing. Whether it's a financial management process, there will be a person who are recording a receipt, which is a document, in a software, maybe QuickBooks, that's a task, and they will need a computer. When you're thinking building processes, you've got to keep thinking about these things. Which person will do? Do I need a document? What document shall be filled? What software shall be used, if any? What tasks are going to be carried out as we do this? What hardware do we need as we're building the process? So in closing there, around how we introduce these, we plan. As you're building your processes, one, you need to consult externally. Maybe you've not done this before. Maybe you don't have this in your business and you've not seen it, and you want to consult and ask other people in the same space that you're in. How do they do what they do? Consult quite a bit externally. Consult internally. You have your 3, your 4 staff. Don't come as a business owner and simply say, it is my business. I dictate how things run. consult, ask them, what are some of the pains? What are some of the things that we do currently that maybe we should not be doing? What are some of the challenges we face in doing what we are doing? How do you think we should do it differently? Things like that. You're consulting, you need to earn the right of your staff to implement the systems later on. If you impose them, they will fight them. If you involve them, they will know the whys around and they will see the benefits around the systems that you're putting in place. So do quite a bit of planning around the systems, then do document these processes using a tool like that I've provided, or flowchart tools, etc. Obtain any software that's required, any hardware that is required, allocate these tasks to the different people, train, and train, become the CRO. They say as entrepreneurs, we are chief repeating officers. So keep repeating, don't get tired, be patient, check periodically, regroup periodically to assess if it's working. Is this working? Is it not? And not just you, but with the team that you're working. Just come back and check where are the flaws, where are the faults, so we can address some of those, and then act on that. Improve the process and reinforce, etc. And that's a process again. This is just a process of introducing the processes in the first place. Right. So what I've gone through is introductory, is to excite us, is to cause questions to come through, so that we can now dig in and have more specific questions and people asking, how do we do this? Why do we do this? Right? I'm open to receive questions right now. Juliana.
Wow, Alfred. This is like eating a heavy meal in the morning, which you need, but you can't take it all in. But I love this. Thank you so much, Alfred. I think one of the areas I would probably ask a question on, and I would like you to reiterate about. Obviously, I'm probably more theoretical than I do a lot of application of systems because I implement them. But within Lean, we look at PDSA, which in this case you've described as PDCA, so Plan, Do, Check, Act. But one of the things I would like to ask you, as one of the people who is really into systems, what is the key feature of the PDSA or PDCA, so Plan, Do, Check, Act? What is the key feature of this process? What do you look at? What does somebody need to take care of? It's not just, yes, plan, do, check, act, and go ahead. I'm just kind of, I would love to know how you would encourage someone to use this feature, because it's not just a one-off. So from your experience, how do you carry out the PDSA?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Juliana. This can be applied to so many different things. It can be applied to so many different things, so many different areas. But in this case, it's just a tool that I was bringing to apply in the process of introduction of your systems. Mm-hmm. So you have thought about your core systems, you have thought about your support systems, and you're getting right, and you don't even have the money to bring a consultant to come and develop these things for you. Now you want to you want the tools of how do I start? Or if I want to get a point where maybe I can ask someone to come in and take a look, I need to start with something. I need to put something in place. So the use of this tool is then to say, how do I begin with what I have? Now this Plan, Do, Check, Act is going to be used in each of these different processes that we want to put in place. Now, it is important that you determine what is the end that I'm looking for, the end I'm looking to achieve with my human resource system, specifically employee entry. What's the end I'm looking for? I'm looking at getting staff, very good staff that we can afford, that align to our values, that you define the end.
Yeah.
Now, once you know what the end is, and you're coming in now to the planning stage, you're thinking through, with the end in mind, you're thinking through, how do we achieve this? That's why the consulting externally is, that's the consulting, wide learning internally is, the buy-in you're creating is, all that work, groundwork that you need to do is focused on a particular end in mind. And as you keep going off that end, you keep bringing yourself back
Yeah.
to the plan, the objective, the desired end. So for me, as you're doing this, the purpose should be in mind. You should keep the purpose in mind, guiding this whole process.
Excellent. I think that is very key. Keep the purpose in mind. And, you know, you need consultants to help you with this, but because you're keeping the purpose in mind, if you look at the way Alfred has described it, it's a cycle. So it's never ending. You know, you may have a plan, you've got a buy-in, but you've got to come back and revisit whatever you've acted on. You may improve the process, but then discover, okay, it's only worked for so long. So you've got to plan again to improve that. So it's a cycle. Thank you so much, Alfred. You know, this is really enlightening. Someone has asked, can we get access to these slides after the session?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. These are available. So I'd share these with you to pass on to the people. I don't know how I'd share them. Juliana, you will advise.
Okay, so for anybody who would like to access the slides, if you didn't register, please leave your email address in the Q&A section. We will be able to send you the slides. Otherwise, for everyone registered, we've got the email addresses. If you want them, just say, I need them, and then we will send you the slides via email. And hopefully that answers the questions. Someone says, how much of the systems development budget should go to training? Very mandatory feature of systems development.
Right. How much of the systems development budget should go to training? You know, even as I'm thinking about many of these things, in my mind, I wasn't thinking a lot on budget end. I was just trying to go through a DIY so that in many ways, some of these things we can do ourselves. But to the extent that we're not able to, perfectly fine. We need to be able to bring in resources to support us, to help us to deal with that. But for me, these are things that we need to be able to do also ourselves.
Yeah.
I think you shouldn't bring in a consultant, and I know I might be appearing like I'm shooting myself in the foot, but don't bring me as a consultant to come and train your staff in how to do your production processes.
Exactly.
Meaning that training should be embedded in your employee stay processes. It should be part of what we do. You should have on your calendar that we carry out internal trainings for our staff to understand our processes. So it shouldn't be some big thing where you want to pay so much money for people to come from wherever and train. No, it is just helping people understand this is what we do, this is how we do it, and most importantly, this is why we do it that way. The most important bit being the why. I think someone asked in the last, what if I come and I bring a process in place and people only apply it when I'm around, and when I leave, they don't do that. They don't implement it. Has the why been appreciated? Have people bought into the why of whatever step you've put in place? Once they understand that why, you will not need to do a lot to reinforce that particular bit. I'll again use an example of Cafe Javas. They haven't paid me to use them as an example.
But looks like you're going to get free meals today.
No, I hope they'll send me a breakfast. I hope someone here is watching from Cafe Javas. But you know that if you get a meal at Cafe Javas, for instance, and maybe something bad happens to the meal, the person doesn't even need to start going to get authorizations from the owner of the business. They know they must put it right. That's part of their process. And they will not make you pay for the second bit. In fact, they'll apologize by giving you an extra something. That's part of the process. The person knows the why. They don't need to first wait, oh my goodness, should I give them something or should I apologize at this point? Will I appear to be? It's part of the process, and people know the why. And the investment should be a lot more in the why, because sometimes you find yourselves skipping some of the steps in the process because of the why. Purpose supersedes process sometimes. But you need to know the process well enough to know when to start superseding the steps in the process. Imagine that you go to a place and someone says, for us here, it is policy, we do not maybe do this. Did you like hearing that word? For us, it's policy. It's policy. That's how it is here. What the person is saying is, I don't understand this thing well enough to be able to make exceptions because it's above my pay grade, you know. But if they knew the why and they were empowered, you see them taking decisions that support, customer delivery. So for me, whys are more important than even the steps.
Wow, excellent. Thank you so much, Alfred. Someone asked, how do systems enforce accountability in terms of function and process? I think that was partially answered, but it might be worth kind of reiterating it.
How do systems?
How do systems enforce accountability in terms of functions and processes?
Right. How do systems enforce accountability? Now, the interesting thing about the systems is, if you recall, if I just go back to the, let me see if I can move right back to the body. Okay. Yes, right there, right there. Now, the good thing about these systems, like we said, the circulatory system is going to draw its oxygen from the respiratory system. Now, if for one reason the respiratory system is not working well, and the circulatory system goes to the blood, goes to the lungs to pick oxygen and it's not there, it will be found out at some point. Now, when you put those systems in place and something is failing somewhere, it normally comes up as a symptom, which is a cog in the next part of the process. So the next user of that process is going to suffer something, and that will allow you to be able to pause. As you build systems, normally you identify what you call critical control points, those areas that you just need to keep checking here. This one I need to check here, check here, check here to be sure things are going right. So you don't check everything. If a chef is cooking, you're not checking, have you put in onions? Okay. Have you now put in tomatoes? Okay. Have you now put in, no, you won't check all that. Otherwise you end up being the chef. But there are certain points at which you need to be checking. Maybe just before the meal goes to the customer, I need to check to see it matches the order that the customer gave. Now that's a critical control point. And it allows for accountability at that level. You're able to know in that process there's accountability. You know that I have checked and I know there's a problem here, let's fix it. But if you don't build those in, then you don't even know where things went wrong, if and when they went wrong, or you discover them late. So yes, systems help us actually to enforce accountability in that manner.
Yeah. There's an interesting question here, and it falls within the plan. It's probably asked so many times. How do you resist? Or what would you advise in terms of handling resistance to change, which happens within plan? That's where you get the buy-in of the staff, buy-in of the managers, the vision bearers. How do you handle resistance?
Thank you. Thank you very much. What I find pretty interesting is we all go through, even if you think about your personal life, you think about certain things in your life that you do not want to be there. There are pains, they are uncomfortable, you don't want them to be there, so you know that on the first end. But then, because you're comfortable, because there's a sense in which it's the known, you don't have enough push for you to think about doing something more or changing the way you do certain things for you to be able to change the result or change the current status. So the aversion to change, first of all, is something that people all have. People like to have a certain sense of of comfort, a certain sense of predictability, a certain sense
Yeah.
of this is how we've been doing this. Why
Yeah.
are we changing it? Okay, yes, I know this and that may not be going well, but why are we changing it? So first, we need to appreciate that innately we all I have a sense of aversion to change. Even for those who say, no, for me, I go for change. Everyone has a sense of aversion to change, especially if they get used to a particular way of doing something.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, knowing that, as you're trying to create change in the organization, it is not you who comes in as the alpha and omega. Even if you're the business owner, even if you finance everything, even if you're the one who can hire and fire, you need to buy the people's minds and hearts around this thing. Now, one of the ways for me that I've done it, at least when I've introduced change, both in our company, but also with our clients, because in our consulting business, we're in the business of change, of creating change at a client's place. So even with them, is to go through the steps together.
Yeah.
So the consultations, for instance, I've mentioned, I will talk to every staff one by one if there's a major change I want to introduce. And I want to hear from them. What are some of the challenges you face in doing this particular thing? What are some of the things that make it difficult for you to do your role when you're doing this? And then they will begin mentioning those. Many times, one person's challenge is because of a process flow in another person's area. You know, I never
Yeah.
receive this in time because someone is not doing it. So
Yeah.
as you go around and picking those, and what do you suggest you could do differently? Sometimes you
Yeah.
have the answer, but don't say, because you've said this, now this is what you're going to be doing. No, listen, listen, listen. Now bring the group together after you've done the one-on-ones. And you say, I have talked to all of you, and these are some of the things that seem to be coming out.
Yeah.
Can we validate? Is this true? And then
Yeah.
they will say, yes, this happens to me. Yes, this happens to me. Yes. Now it appears that it's not you who is introducing this because you've simply pointed out. So now together, what do we do?
Yeah.
And then people begin proposing this, proposing that, and I can guarantee you, people might propose about 30, 40, 50% of what you had planned to propose. It will be proposed maybe in that meeting. So you realize it's not you who seems to be imposing the change, but it's coming out from the different people, even maybe
Yeah.
more refined than the plan that you had. And then go through that and then reinforce, encourage, reward for those who are implementing, retrain for those who are not, have one-on-ones again with those who might not be, pick the friendly faces, those who seem to be picking it, and ride through those and help them, work through them to effect the change with their colleagues. It may be a lot easier than maybe sometimes through you. So there are different ways. I'm just trying to shrink 4 or 5 models in answering one
In an
question.
answer. That's really fantastic. I mean, systems is a broad thing, and it's something that people should not be worried and scared about. Mr. Nyanzi asked a question which has been kind of answered previously, but maybe to kind of reiterate on it. The question was identifying process maturity, how an organization will be able to identify that it's progressing in implementing systems. You've got to have controls in place. Alfred mentioned having critical control points. That is really, really important. So if you have put measurement, I'll use measurement because that's kind of my area of expertise. If you've got a measurement system in place, you've calibrated it, you've done your gauge R&R on it, you've got to make sure that this system is consistently delivering what you require it to do. So this measuring system will have at different points, you'll be checking the weights, you'll be checking the calibration status. When you identify that there's a change in your output, then that's the point to go back to your plan, do, PDSA, where am I going wrong? You sit down and then you do your investigation. The system I've implemented, is it not right? Is it not, is it right, or there's just something wrong that's gone in place? It could be training. By the way, training is a process. The person who asked about training, it's a process. So it's got to go through that whole system. It is continuous. And I'll reiterate, you don't need a consultant to support with training because it's a process in itself. Somebody asked a question about systems being great. So I'll read the question. It's quite a long one, and I think it's quite an important one. Systems are great. However, our understanding of them differs from person to person. What advice can you give those users who are not tech savvy, who may be cheated out by their more tech savvy employees? Are there ways they can protect themselves even when they don't understand these systems? And I suppose another twist to that question is systems only software or not? That is always a question. I think when you speak systems, people always think software. But you did again talk about that. So there you go, if you can answer that question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think I was asked by Lillian when I saw in the Q&A. Thank you.
Yes,
thank you, Lillian.
Lillian.
Indeed, I'll just start right there. Systems are not software. And I think that's one of the mistakes that many entrepreneurs make. When they say, I was told that when you buy this financial management system and put it here, your problems are gone. No, a system is not necessarily software. Software is a part, can be a part. In fact, you can have a whole system without any software involved. A whole system without any software involved. But as you're documenting your processes, as you're going through your processes, even if they're going to go through a computer or whatever app, you need to know before you automate your specific processes, you need to know what those steps are, what exactly is being documented, is going to be put in the system, the software. I want the person using the Cafe Java app again, I want the person to be able to see the menu, okay? After that, I want them to be able to select whether it's breakfast or lunch, okay? After that, I want them to be able to click this and add what they want to eat. This has nothing to do with software. I'm talking about what you want the experience, the customer to go through. You're documenting process first before you choose what to automate. Then you make all your way through up to the time of payment. Now, by the time a software provider is coming in, you're saying, what we want this software to do for us are these three things.
Yeah.
If it ends up doing more, there's a problem. If it ends up doing less, there's a problem. If it ends up getting these things and multiplying our money by whatever, there's going to be a problem. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, how do you may not be tech savvy, but the thing about systems is any system has input, process, output. Input, process, output. Now, when you get mangoes and you chop them and you put them in a blender, that is input. And you blend, that is process. If you test that juice and it is orange juice, there is a problem. There is a problem. That already is a point. Even if you don't know what happens in blending, you know your critical control point before you pass on the juice to the customer will be, I will taste the juice that came out of this blender. Should it taste like orange? Because as a business owner, I know what mango tastes like. Should it taste like orange? There's a problem. And the problem is either this blender is creating its own things and someone needs to be dealing with it. So your critical control point is the tasting of that output before it goes to your customer. Then you know we shall always test here. So you don't need to be tech savvy. You don't need to know how to write code. You don't need to know, just know any system is I put in something, it processes, and I get out output. And as long as the output that comes out is different from my expectation, then someone needs to come and check how that system is operating. Someone independent from the one who is putting the information in there.
Wow, brilliant. Thank you. By the way, guests, please feel free to raise your hand and ask a question. I think we have got only another 10 minutes before the webinar ends. So if you have any questions, just raise your hand and we'll be able to unmute you to ask a question. There's another one. At what point do I scale out my business? Taking note that expansion and scaling out comes with a cost. The cost may weaken the systems and plans for expansion. What take-home message do I take if I'm planning to expand my business for system perspectives? That's a wonderful question, Charles.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. A very, very, very good question there. At what point do I scale out my business? I'll just begin very quickly by talking about people I normally meet, and they say, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I just start businesses, many different businesses. But many of those businesses are all at startup stage and have never made their way to, scale, to systemizing stage, and were never even ready to get to that stage because they are spreading thin. But anyway, once you've put your systems, you've built your systems and you've put them in place, and it is working. It works by consistent, if it's consistently gone through the particular process and people are saying, yes, this is coming through well, yes, consistently. If my company, Acclaim, does trainings and consistently we are measuring, and our participants are giving us 5 out of 5 on presentation skills, 5 out of 5 on of course you have to measure, and they're giving us all that, then I think we've got this. Now we need to get it into other spaces. But don't start scaling into other spaces before you've tested and know that this system works very well. Now, the challenges around scaling are a bit different from systemizing, because when you're now scaling, you're talking about systems in the different places, but you're also talking about adapting, flexibility, context. Because the system that we use in doing our work and our consulting work in Uganda might be different from what we get to use in Liberia, might be different from what you get to use in Malawi, or different spaces, because the contexts differ. So you go back to learning. You go back to learning. So don't simply pick it and take it to another place. But something you've mentioned there, it comes at a cost. Absolutely, scaling comes at a cost and comes with a profit, if done right. Because if you're getting a profit of $100,000 in one location and you get 5 locations, you might get $500,000. Maybe if one doesn't work out, let's say 100,000 has died, maybe you'll get $400,000. Okay, assuming 2 don't work out, 2 are loss-making, at least you get $300,000. It comes at a profit as well, if done well.
Wonderful. Wow. So obviously myself and Alfred live and breathe systems. So there's so much you could ask that, so many questions are asked about systems. One of the questions that has come up is, does everyone need systems? Yes, every sector needs systems, starting from your household. Excuse me. Starting from your household, you need systems to run your household. You need systems to run the basic needs of life, which is the sectors in those needs. So the food industry, the medical industry, the education sector. You need business systems or systems processes in each and every sector. Auditing. There's a question about auditing. Should I take that one, Alfred?
Yes,
yeah, I'll take. Go on.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so someone has asked about speaking to external audits. There is everything wrong with trying to improve your business with processes or systems, and you do not check them. How then will you be able to know that what you've implemented is working? That's the question that was asked earlier. How do I know the maturity of my systems? And the only way you can do that is having both internal auditors and external auditors. Now, internal auditors are people who know that business in and out. They know how that business breathes, They know the nitty-gritty of the system. The external auditor just knows the skeleton. of your business, but they need to know and check that the business is running right. I think one of the most interesting points that I raised the last time we had this this webinar, similar webinar, was everyone of us here woke up or got up in the morning and went and had a shower. It is not compulsory. You don't have to shower. But the truth is, as you walk out of your door, there's certain people you will automatically repel, you know, automatically. There's certain people who will accommodate you, but after some time, they'll be, Juliana, man, no, you know, and that is similar to businesses. So what do you need in your business? You need a mirror. That is the auditing system. You need to be able to say, mirror, mirror on the wall. You know, you need someone within your business to check all the training that we have in place. Is it actually happening? You look at your training records. Was employee A, B, C, D trained? Did they pass the training? Do they have certificates? Now, when the external auditor comes in, the external auditor might be looking at just what the internal auditor has done and, you know, just to rectify it. The beauty of auditing is that you get certification. You know, these accredited organizations that give you accreditation are so important. If you're planning and your vision as the business owner or vision bearer, if your vision is to have your company on the stock market, these are kind of the things that should be at the back of your mind. Have your business audited, let it have systems, then you'll have the likes of Juliana wanting to buy your company or organization, or Elon Musk or anybody. Otherwise, it will not be attractive to anybody. So auditing makes ensures that your business is running right, that the systems you've put in place are right. Very similar to a mirror. And I hope I've answered that question well, Lillian. But if anyone wants to ask any question, please raise your hand. Do you want to add on to the auditing aspect, Alfred?
Yeah, just one bit that also helps answer another question that was asked before. Someone who said, look, I'm not tech savvy, I don't know about these things. That's part of the value of audit as well. Because if they're going to audit, sometimes what they're going to audit is also audit. You have information system auditors who are going to audit the system. And what they're going to check is the things like the integrity of the system. When you put in 1 + 1, does it give you 2? And they will check that. They have methods of doing that. And they'll come back and tell you, you know what? Your system is working well because 1 + 1 we've checked is 2. We tried 2 + 2, it gave us 4. Just like the blender I talked about. You bring it to someone to say, please check this thing is giving orange juice instead of mango juice. And someone will check and say, oh, it looks like it doesn't get washed very well at the bottom when they're oranges, it remains in there. You don't know about what happens inside the blender, but someone who knows about that comes in and checks and then certifies and says your system is working right. And that's the advantage of having someone coming from out. If you don't yet, if you haven't yet amassed them, I need to bring in all the big auditors and all. I keep encouraging people and saying, look, have friends. You're starting out a business, but have the right friends, have the right people in your network that you can call and say, friend, come for coffee, but as we take coffee, please check this for me.
Out.
No, check this for me, because and they will gladly do that. But of course, you need to have built enough relationships, those people, for them to owe you something like that.
Yeah.
Back to you, Julie.
Wow, that's excellent. We've got 2 hands up. Paula Isavidia, can you please ask your question? Paula, your mic is unmuted. Please ask your question. Paula, are you there? Okay, it might be tech issues. There's also Charles. Charles, your hand's up. Would you like to ask your question?
Thank you very much, Juliana. And thank you, Alfred, for the insightful presentation. So, Alfred, you mentioned about the issue of buy-in by the staff so that they don't fight you if you introduce the system. Now, if you are, for example, the vision bearer or the owner of the business, sometimes you want to move things very fast because you have a vision you want to achieve. But you know, so in the organization, there are people who are very fast learners and there are some who are slow learners. And you definitely have to compromise so that to fulfill the issue of buy-in. Now, to what levels will you compromise so that you do not slow down your speed of introducing the new innovations, the systems, just for purposes of fulfilling the aspect of buy-in? I wanted your take on that. And Juliana, I wanted also you to include me on your network so that if there are this series, because I'm attending for the first time, then I keep attending because this is very useful knowledge that you are sharing to us. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Charles. You're more than welcome. We'll be in touch. Drop your email in the Q&A and we will be in touch.
Thank you, Juliana. Can I take it up?
Yes, sure. Please, Alfred, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very, very pertinent question there. And three things I will say. One, don't be the vision bearer. If you are the vision bearer in your business is going to fail. Your staff should be vision bearers of the business. You need to spend time selling your vision to your staff so that they become vision bearers of the business. I was just looking among participants, and I'm happy to say I have about 2 staff of Acclaim who are watching, and I think they will attest since they are here. And I'm not lying, so it's not a case of this guy is just preaching this. But these people are vision bearers. I spend my time, a lot of time, envisioning so that they are the vision bearers, so that even if I'm not in the picture, they carry the vision. And when people carry the vision, I can tell you, it is going to be a lot easier. In fact, it will not be you introducing the change. It will be them saying, you know, this has not been working well. We need to change it. We need to put certain systems in place. So the first thing to work on is make sure you have more vision bearers in the business. That is not you. The second thing I would say is, I know it's a cliche saying, but they say the fastest way to go is slow in these things. That if you want to go further, go with your people. If you want to go faster, go alone. So if you just want to move very fast, just go alone. You'll move so fast. But if you want to go further and longer and more sustainably, you've got to go with your people. For you to be able to implement change that is lasting, change that doesn't depend on you, it is important that the people buy and understand the why and keep repeating. Like I said, you're the CRO, you're the chief repeating officer. Keep repeating until the vision is bought and understood. Up until that point, you will not need to push some of the things. I will tell you, since March 2020, our team works remotely. It's now 3 years almost, or thereabout. Now, if the staff that we had not bought the vision, I can guarantee you would all be back in office. But they work from home. They deliver better than even they ever delivered in the office, because we have been putting in all the effort to envision the staff. They own what they do. They are like the owners of the business because they put in their all, they think for the business, they create for the business, and it's no longer me. Finally, that business is not yours. Once you start a business initially, yeah, you can think I'm starting my business. But friend, it is not yours anymore. Yes, you might be the one that takes the bigger profit at the end of the year, but it is now a societal business. That business belongs to your staff. That business belongs to your clients. That business belongs to your suppliers, the ones that you've been providing money to provide inputs. All of a sudden, if you stop, you're stopping different people's livelihoods. So all of a sudden, if Jessa stopped putting milk on the shelves, you're up in arms. Jessa, why are you not bringing milk? But Jessa can't say, it's my company, I can choose when to bring milk and when not to. There is a societal contract you've signed with the people that you'll be bringing them milk. The business ceases to be yours. It's about now people's families that you're feeding. It's about the customers' needs that you're meeting. It's bigger than you. It ceases to be you. It becomes a tool that even you just look at and try to contribute to. It no longer is yours. It is for society. I think that's what I would say about that.
Excellent. Wow. Thank you so much, Alfred. And again, adding on to that, if you remember, or if you were not part of our very first series, we said there's 3 things that need to work together. There's the vision bearer, systems, and the board. The board being the people you're answerable to. And this includes your customers, the managing board, and your customers and the managing board. And so that means your business ceases to be yours, and you should be separable from your business. That is, if you are away from your business for 30 minutes a day, a month, a year, it should still run. So Paula, are you able to ask your question? We only have 15 minutes left. I had made an error. Our webinar is 1.5 hours. So within the next 15 minutes, we will be closing. So we'll probably wind up in 10 minutes, but Paula, okay, your hand is down. I will request Sam asked quite a lengthy question. Sam Masaba, are you able to unmute and speak? Innocent Wakungu asked, at what point can a system be reviewed? I think we've answered this multiple times in just 1 or 5 words. Alfred, can you answer this yet again?
At what point can a system be reviewed?
Yeah.
I think first of all, it's important just to build in continuous improvement into your way of doing work. So keep checking, keep checking, keep checking. Sometimes the improvement will come in at a point where there's been an error and you want to go back and see what happened. Sometimes it's triggered by an error. Sometimes it could be periodical. You simply say, every so often, we want to pause. We want to reflect and see what's happening before we continue. We don't want to be like, the butterfly concept. You don't want to be like a caterpillar. A butterfly, you have an egg to a caterpillar that is moving around, eating everything, but you need a pupa stage. Pause, reflect before you become a beautiful butterfly. You need to go through pupa stage.
Excellent. Just one point for anyone who would like to join the TSP, there's also an option, there'll be a mobile phone number put in the chat, which you can access and then send a message, and then you'll be able to be automatically added to the group and also be able to receive updates. Sam, you've been unmuted. There's only one question that I can respond to now. Is it possible to get the recordings after? For us, provided you've been registered, we shall be able to send the recordings. And for the people who've put their emails in the chat, we shall also be able to send through the recording. So yes, there is a recording and we shall send it through. Sam?
Thank you. Thank you, Alfred and Juliana. My question really is about the aspect of what Alfred was talking about, people buying in and sitting down and talking with them, and then finding their views on something you want to bring about to change. But I also noticed there is an issue where when people in their roles, they work like in a silo. This is my role, this is my job description. I'm only paid to do this. Therefore, I've done my bit, pass on to the next person. But I found that when you work as a silo, if there are issues that affect, if you don't look at how your role plays in terms of the bigger picture of the whole organization, this cripples development and growth and what you're trying to achieve. So how do you address this, or how have you maybe responded to anything that, if anyone has ever raised this? How do you get people's mindset to be that, yes, I'm the finance person, but how does what I do affect all the other departments within the whole organization? And therefore, do I pick it as a value or something? I don't know if that makes sense.
Great, thank you, Sam. A very good question there, and I think within the question you also had a bit of the answer around people working in silos, and we said systems were about an interconnecting network to the extent that these things, elements, parts are on their own, scattered out there. The heart is on its own, okay? The lungs are on their own on the other end. The arteries are on their own. You are not going to have a circulatory system at work. So to the extent that the different parts are on their own, this will not work. Now, when I was talking about envisioning, part of your role is to help people see how my role speaks into the next and speaks into the next and speaks into the next. Sometimes people see a small bit, all I do is this, and they think maybe my role is not even very important. And then they forget that if I don't do my one, it is going to affect all the others. And that's why when you're doing these planning meetings, don't say, this is senior management meeting for get people that are in the process, bring everyone, so that everyone knows that if my role in this customer delivery process is to bring tea to potential clients, and they take their tea and feel very welcomed, so we win this client, I'm going to do that, and that will be my contribution. If we win this client, I will have done well, which was to bring just the tea for the people to come in. Now, don't try this at home, but in Acclaim Africa, we don't have job descriptions. We don't have job descriptions for staff. We define the end that we need to happen. We match what people do to that particular end. And as everyone is working, they know this is what we are trying to work towards. So it's not that me, I just do this and I'm not going to do anything else. If you know that you're working towards a particular end, a particular purpose, then your role is to achieve the other purpose. It's not just the one item that you were meant to deliver on. So it's increasingly important for you to show people and demonstrate to people that if they don't do their bit, that it is going to affect the whole. Or that sometimes they may be called upon to fix another bit that is not part of what they normally do, so that the overall whole can come through ultimately. So that's very, very important to keep passing on over and over again for people to appreciate, when I don't do mine, this is how it affects the business.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much, Alfred. You've really impacted so many of us. There's always something new to learn. I've learned quite a bit, taking critical points, insisting there's an input, there's a process, and there's an output. You don't want to get to have mangoes as your input and the output is orange juice. No, we want mango as an input and the output to be either a mango smoothie or mango juice, depending on what output I'm looking at. It's very important. So thank you so much. We really appreciate the time you've given to us. And for everyone who's been able to attend this webinar, we really appreciate you. We thank you so much for the time that you've given us to impact your lives, impact your businesses, and the generations to come. We will be sharing our recording. And again, if you have not put your email in the Q&A, please put your email address in the Q&A and we will be in touch. Thank you so much. We really appreciate. TSP says thank you so much. And yeah, we hope to see you at our next webinar, which will be in 6-7 weeks. So thank you so much for joining us and hope to see you soon.